Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you guys can tell by the title, today I will be speaking about poetry and how it's been lately for me and the reality of my poetry journey and how usually I'll more dive into how I've been lately with poetry and just how it's been for me. So, as you guys know, and if you don't know, I do have two poetry collections out right now, and these poetry collections they mean a lot to me. The first poetry collection is called Fragments, and the second poetry collection is called Writing Today While Dreaming of Tomorrow. And the first poetry collection, I'm going to be looking here because I have access to them here. The first poetry collection is basically about all the things that I basically hold on to, but I don't necessarily want to say. It's kind of like things that are in the back of my mind, things that I'm kind of like too afraid to say, but I'm not afraid enough to step to not write about it. So I'm bold enough to write about it, but I'm too afraid to say it. So this is the first poetry collection. And the second poetry collection, I remember exactly what it is. So it's more so about how I perceive love, and it has three different sections. The first section, if I remember correctly, is my oldest poems. So it's a poems about love that I did write in the past. The second part of it would be more so a French poem that I wrote about love, and then the third section are like more so my recent poems. So more like a real representation of how I would write about love for now. And yeah, so I feel like my older poems were more so like bold and very straightforward, but now I feel like I know how to work with literary devices a little bit more, like personification. That's only the only one that I can think of right now, but I do work with literary devices, and I'm able to put them in such a way where it's not straight direct. You kind of have to think about it more and dissect my poetry a little bit better to be able to understand the meaning behind it. And that's what I love. And honestly, with these two poetry collections, I have them on my PayHip website. And honestly, the truth, I'm gonna be so honest, nobody's purchased any of it, and I'm not so angry, just a little bit disappointed, just because like the feeling where you put so much work into something and it doesn't turn out the way you want. It's just kind of how it's been for me, like just like um just working really hard into poetry and trying to build a name for myself towards the poetry side, and it's kind of like not going anywhere. That's how it kind of feels, but I'm not doing this out of pity, like, oh my gosh, like, pity me, buy my poetry collection. No, I'm doing this just to I really want to be super straightforward, and I want to be transparent. I want to be honest, I want to be super honest. Like, I've had these two poetry collections out for some time, and there is no interest in them. And honestly, that's just how it's been. Like, there hasn't been any interest in my poetry collections. And honestly, the reason why I haven't written in a minute, it's not because I haven't been getting sales. It's not because I'm doing this for money. No, I just haven't had the inspiration to write. Like, usually for me, the way it would work is I would put myself into a really safe and comfortable space to be able to write, or I would wait for inspiration to come to me to be able to write something. And lately, I just haven't. And by lately, I mean the last couple months, I haven't had any inspiration. I'm not even sure you guys my top. This is such a cute top that I like. But I haven't had any inspiration. I haven't put the effort to put myself into that space, that comfortable space to produce something worthy of writing. I haven't felt like my writing is good enough, and usually I only let myself write something and keep it if I feel like it's good. I don't let myself make mistakes in terms of that. So I haven't written in quite some time, and it's been like I just haven't felt like it. I just haven't written in a minute, and it's not the best thing ever. And I'm trying to get back to it, and I'm trying to find ways for it to be comfortable and not just going back to write when I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna build another poetry collection to sell. Like, I want it to be the authentic hobby and passion that I have for writing. and I don't want it to just be feel. I don't just want to feel validated by people purchasing my things. Like it really didn't come from a side of money. It came from a side of discovery. It really came from a side of me wanting to put my poetry out there and wanting to touch people with my words. You know, wanting for people to put themselves in my shoes and really kind of like wanting to impress people with my art. You know, that's really where it came from. I do want to, since I haven't like sold any poems, I do want to show you guys and read to you guys a few poems from these poetry collections. I don't want this video to be too long. I can read a poem from the first poetry collection and then a poem from the second poetry collection. I'll read to you guys my favorite and read to you guys, I'll tell you guys why. It's my favorite. I'm trying to look through it. The first poetry collection has 4 poems. Is it 4? I swear it was 5. 1, 2, 3. It's 4 poems. That's crazy. I want something peaceful. Okay, this. I'm trying to skip that poem, but this honestly was my favorite poem. So the title of the poem is Depth of Distinctive Souls, and I'll read it to you guys. 1 second, one look, depth between eyes. A long stare that almost feels like skin to skin eye contact. No words exchanged, no words needed, just silence and desire between two beings. One holds the color of thick, dark, and deeply nourished soil, the other crystallized in pure multitudes of oceans. As they both drown in the desire of their stories, not even a word can cut through such feeling. As you guys can see, this poem is definitely about the connection between two people. You could assume that I did kind of like somebody when I wrote this, but I never write my poems about people. I write my poems about ideas that come with feelings. For example, like idea of liking someone, the idea of being angry, the idea of my anger towards something, the idea of my resentment towards something, because I don't like looking back at poems and it just reminding me of someone, especially when people aren't in my life anymore or people I'm not really in good um terms with people. Like I don't like I feel like dedicating a poem to someone is special. Like it might just be like, oh my god, it's just a poem, but for me it's my art and it's my life. So dedicating an entire poem to someone is really heavy, and I feel like it has to be somebody that has reached really high level of importance in my life. But I just don't write poems about people. Like I said, I write poems about ideas, and I wrote this poem obviously with the idea of somebody in my mind, but with the fact that this could be applied beyond that circumstance. It could be applied in different circumstances to different people in general. Just somebody reading this poem won't be like, oh, this is a very specific poem. They'll be like, oh, okay, you know what, like this is a poem that can be generalized past, you know, a certain feeling. So that's why I really, really like this poem, because yeah, we're I feel like I described how the eye contact felt and how deep it is, and the difference between those two people, but they're united by such a feeling, a unique feeling that they both share. So despite their differences, they really have that one thing that connects them and just brings them back to each other. So I just really love that poem. It's honestly one of my favorite ones from this collection. From my second collection, which is called Writing Today While Dreaming of Tomorrow. And I honestly like that title as well. I picked it. I'm gonna generally pick something that I like. Okay. Okay, I would be lying, but this is also my favorite poem. I was trying to skip that poem too and pick something else, but this is generally my second poem from this second collection. It's called Loss of Depth Between Us, and as you guys can kind of like connect the dots, it's kind of a continuation of that first poem. So that first poem is called Depth of Distinctive Souls, and this poem is called Loss of Depth Between Us. So you understand it's kind of continuation, and I also want my poetry collections to have like this sort of connection in between each other. So I'll start. Despising the time, slowly watching it go by, thinking of your eyes, deep, vivid, penetrating through my soft skin, wanting, begging, feeling shy, unable to hold my gaze, to lock my eyes to yours, sensing within me, your eyes glide down my body, completely undressing me. Carefully closing my eyes, hoping that even in another lifetime I could find you. Opening them back to reality, staring back at me into nothingness, are deep, vivid, ocean colored stars. So, as you guys can tell, this poem is definitely like the sadder version of that poem. As you can, like, as I said, like, I want my poems to be generalizable past a certain feeling. I want it to be, I want somebody else to be able to read that poem and feel like, oh my gosh, like a piece of me relates to that poetry. So yeah, this poem is about kind of like losing that connection. So like the first poem, like I said, is continuation. So the first poem is about, two different people, two different souls, two distinctive individuals united by that one feeling. And this is like these two individuals are now losing that connection. Um, so yeah, like these are like my favorite poems from my collection that I love so much, and I've worked so hard for that collection. Like I have hundreds of poems and I really tried to pick the ones that I feel like reflected what was in that collection. So like I told you guys, that first poetry collection, which is called Fragments, is really like things that I'm too afraid to say and things like that. And then the second collection, which is Writing Today While Dreaming of Tomorrow, is more like, scrambles of papers and things that are I always leave incomplete, but I'm forcing myself to complete for this poetry collection, which I honestly love so much. And I feel like thinking of poetry really animates something in me. I just need to get to the part where I'm writing again and I'm creating again, and I find that passion within me. And it's just going to take a little bit of time, but I really hope that I do find that spark. And I'm trying not to get discouraged by people not buying or purchasing or wanting to be interested in my poetry, but I still find ways to share my poetry. Like I will I will not publish, sorry, I will post YouTube shorts with segments of my poetry because I still want to share my word and be able to touch as many people as I can with my words. That being said, I will call it a day for this video. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys like my poetry. If you guys are ever interested in free poems, you don't have to purchase. I do have a couple of poems that I do read on my YouTube shorts. You guys can just scroll and check it out. And if you guys are interested in purchasing ever, I do have it in the link of my YouTube channel bio. You guys can check it out. And thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I see you guys in another lifetime.